Every month, gaming pitches us a bunch of curveballs, and every month, gameranx catches those curveballs, signs them, and distributes them to you, the gaming public. 10 of them, in fact. Hi, folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the 10 weirdest gaming stories of February 2025. Starting off with number 10, Epic Games turned this Fortnite cheater into a cautionary tale, let's say. So they went full disciplinarian on Morgan Repulse God Bamford, a Fortnite pro who thought he could game the system. He was wrong. Got caught account sharing during a major tournament. Instead of just slapping him on the wrist or giving him a short ban or warning or whatever, Epic decided to go. They went nuclear. First off, they stripped him of his winning. I mean, that makes sense. You cheat in a tournament, of course. You don't really get the prize, right? They donated all the cash to charity just to make sure that he knew who was boss. Next, they banned him for life, meaning no more pro Fortnite. But that wasn't it. They also forced him to make a public apology, which ended up as an awkward 15-second video where he basically admitted, yeah, I messed up. Some people think Epic went a little far here. Others argue this is exactly how you stop cheaters from ruining competitive gaming. The message is clear. You cheat in Fortnite, Epic will erase you. Just remember, you are not a Sharpie, you are a pencil. And whatever the hell eraser material is made of, well, that's what Epic's got, okay? At least his prize money went to a good cause, though. At number 9, Valve is now a no-ad zone in a move that should shock absolutely no one except for maybe mobile game developers, although I have a sneaky suspicion they're probably not too surprised by it. Valve officially banned games from Steam that rely on in-game ads to keep players engaged. Or, let's be real, games that hold you hostage in order to watch an ad. Hey, you know what I'm talking about. You're having a good time playing a game, and you get hit with a 30-second ad for Gem Crush casino slots or, something like that. Well, Valve was like, no longer, bitch. We're not doing that here. So any game that forces players to watch ads for progression or unlocks, getting yeeted. Obviously, there are some games that rely on advertising in more subtle ways. So your favorite sports games can still feature Mountain Dew or whatever thing they slap on athletes' shirts and the things and signs at the sidelines. And I don't know. But if your entire business model revolves around making players suffer through ads, guess what? You're going to have to learn both business and how to design a real game. That's two things you have to learn. Because those aren't real games. They're just like basically psychological abuse. And it's just a shitty business model. Hopefully this actually deals a big blow to that, but I don't know that it really will. I'd like to say good on Valve. Great stuff. Super duper. You guys are wonderful, but it's kind of not that. They don't get a cut of advertising revenue, so that's probably really why. I'm glad they went this route rather than creating the Valve advertising service, because that crap's not going to be missed. Not by me. Even though I'm not playing it, I just don't want it populating the store from browsing for new games. Moving on to number 8, Nintendo tried to patent catching things in balls in the United States. It didn't work. So basically, Nintendo is doing like the least gamer-friendly thing. They're trying to patent game mechanics, which is bad. Let's just be clear. If they had thought to patent platforming way back in the day, we wouldn't have Sonic the Hedgehog, which is, that would be a tragedy as far as I'm concerned. But Nintendo wanted legal protection over throwing a spherical object to capture a creature, which is, it ain't special, and the U.S. Patent Office agreed. Obviously, this all stems from the Pal World controversy. The Pokemon with Guns game is obviously pretty popular. Much more popular than Nintendo wants it to be anyways. And Nintendo's really been looking for ways to shut it down without saying we're shutting it down. Instead of launching a direct lawsuit, they've been trying to get these patents in place, obviously so they can turn them around and use them against Pal World later, but they failed to secure them, and the legal strategy is just taking a pretty serious hit. Now, Nintendo could try to sue Pal World based on copyright claims, but let's be serious. If that was a valid strategy, they would be doing that probably instead of the whole patent thing. So it's going to be a little bit harder for them than they probably hoped. The United States actually rejected 22 out of 23 patents that Nintendo applied for. So, ha! I love Nintendo from a design perspective, but man, it is so unfriendly towards everyone. Moving on to number 7. So Ken Levine's game studio Ghost Story Games is celebrating 11 years of having one appropriate name. It's been 11 years since Irrational Games got shut down. He almost immediately turned around and launched a company called Ghost Story Games with 15 employees that have, by the way, all since quit. If not all, then almost all. They obviously have employees because they are developing a game called Judas, or at least they supposedly are. Like, it's been 11 years and they've released absolutely nothing. Judas is kind of one of those seems like it's never going to happen games. There was a trailer back in 2022 for the game. Haven't really heard anything since then. So, yeah, that's 11 years of not only no new BioShock, but no new nothing. I mean, the BioShock one goes back further than 11 years. My man, Ken, what's the deal? At number 6, Blizzard decided to reward players by bringing back loot boxes in Overwatch 2. Yeah, the loot boxes that help trigger global discussions on predatory monetization and a bunch of government regulation around the world is coming back. They ditched it in favor of a battle pass system, and now Blizzard changed their mind. They say, wow, Overwatch 2 is just not rewarding enough for free-to-play users. So their solution is, of course, to give players more rewards by making them gamble again. Yay! Obviously, Blizzard insists it's not the bad kind of loot box system. They're going to be super transparent about drop rates this time because nothing makes rolling low on a 0.01% legendary skin feel better than knowing it's 0.01% chance of knowing the odds doesn't make that better. Makes it worse. Makes the game feel less rewarding. The work that you put in isn't rewarded. Well, it might be, but you got to gamble for it. Now, a lot of people are speculating that this is the start of a potentially even more aggressive push for microtransactions because, let's be real, when has a gaming company ever introduced loot boxes and then stopped there? At number 5, Amazon tried to out-Steam Steam, and, well, it's not possible. So recently, Ethan Evans, the former VP of Prime Gaming, recently spilled the beans about Amazon's multiple failed attempts to outplay Valve. Despite having resources at least 250 times bigger than Steam's, Amazon's efforts to disrupt they weren't effective. First, Amazon acquired Reflexive Entertainment, this small PC game store. They thought they could scale it up. That didn't happen. Then they bought Twitch, and they assumed gamers would naturally flock to an Amazon-run PC game store because Twitch, I don't really get that one. Didn't work, though. And then they launched Luna, which is basically Google Stadia, and Google Stadia failed too. Ethan Evans actually admitted this in this interview that he was doing. I'll quote him. "The mistake was that we underestimated what made consumers use Steam. It's a store, a social network, a library, and a trophy case all in one, and it worked well." In other words, Steam does everything. There's no reason for another store. I mean, Monopoly isn't good, but also, it seems like nobody really understands what Steam is. I mean, he does now, after failing, but I don't know. It's kind of just proof that you can't just throw money at a problem you don't understand. Moving on to number 4, EA blamed the failure of Dragon Age the Veilguard on the lack of live services. Let me tell you, I did not see this one coming. Electronic Arts CEO Andrew Wilson, he's talking about the underwhelming performance of Dragon Age the Veilguard and what can only characterize this man as an absolute dunce. The thing that came out of his mouth can be substituted for an IQ test. He actually said that a lack of live service elements was the main culprit for people not buying this game. You know, the live service elements that are to blame for ruining countless companies. The live service elements that almost never succeed in even free games. A lack of that was the reason this game failed. I'm sorry, but if there has ever been a case for somebody failing up, it is this guy saying this thing. You should not be allowed a driver's license if you say something this stupid. Now, I want to go ahead and say this. Dragon Age the Veilguard is a good game. It is not a great game. It has things about it that certainly make people dislike it. I don't think that it's good enough to overcome those things. It has the potential, but potential only takes you so far. That said, this was a game that actually was conceived as a live service title, and somewhere along the way they realized that was a bad idea and switched to single player. Here's the problem, though. I'm almost positive that's the same pattern Gotham Knights followed, and we all know how that turned out. Not a terrible game, certainly not a great one, though. and there were things about it that made it quite irritating. But when you start designing a game for live service, you design it differently than single player, and I'm almost certain that has some degree of impact on the quality of the game itself. There's other things, of course, you could discuss those in the comments if you wish, but from the Dragon Age franchise, what people want is a well-crafted story in a world that knows what it is. Doesn't have identity issues. I mean that in more ways than one, unfortunately. And number 3, hey, guess what? Marvel Rivals, actually a pretty good game. People are liking it. People are playing it. And on top of that, people are finding that it has remote code execution vulnerabilities. What's that mean? Hey, all right, okay, let me explain it. Hackers can use Marvel Rivals to take over your PC or your PS5. So the game's hotfix patching system doesn't verify that it's communicating with official servers, which is, wow, I can't even begin to correctly assert the size of that problem. Huge oversight, massive, freakish in size oversight. To make matters worse, this is a game that requires administrator privileges on your PC to run at all because of the way that its anti-cheat system works. So, I'm sorry, I'm certainly not laughing at the people who may have seen this be a problem. Here's the trick. Do not play Marvel Rivals on public Wi-Fi. Period. Don't do it. And also, do not give local hackers who live nearby you your Wi-Fi password. That one's a little more obvious, but yeah. It may not seem like a lot of people do that, but you'd be surprised how many people are sitting on a laptop in an airport playing a competitive game. You got time to kill there. Don't do it. Do not do it. It's not patched. Like, as of right now, and keep in mind, these videos can take a little bit of time to edit, but as of this recording, they have not patched it. Moving on to number 2, Sony did a slop wipe. I didn't think about that before I said it. I want to go ahead and say that yes, we do script some videos. That's completely normal for YouTube. Slop wipe, there's your evidence that this one is not scripted. Sounds so much worse than it is. I mean, it's actually good. Like, it's something that's actually getting Sony fans to breathe a sigh of relief. Like, Sony decided, let's clean up that old PlayStation store, get rid of the shovelware. It needs to be said that Sony is a bad culprit in terms of a spam game infested store, but they're knocking out developers like Random Spins, so Supermarket Simulator, Backrooms Inside the Escape, Body Cam Shooter, all these cobbled together asset flips. They've been delisted, so if you're aware of any developers that churned out multiple games a month, good chance they're not around anymore, at least on the Sony store. It's not just a Sony problem, unfortunately. Nintendo, I'd argue Nintendo's actually maybe a little bit worse, which is far removed from the old Nintendo seal of quality days of yore. My hope is that Sony so extensively cleans up their store that Nintendo decides to clean up their store even some. All right, at number 1, we've got an Unreal Engine demo that is absolutely beautiful. It's incredible. It comes to us from YouTuber El Torres, and it is called Walking Through Virtual Gardens. You might say to yourself, oh, this is weird because it's so realistic. No, not at all. I want to say it's lying to us. Not about how good Unreal 5 engine is, because wow, it's incredible. But only one of these scenes, only one of these 7 scenes appears to be a real garden. It labels 2 of them as gardens, but the first is a pine garden, and it just looks like a forest to me. From there, we visit a base camp, a jungle river, an actual real garden that declares itself a secret, a sakura grove, a meadow creek, and a bamboo grove. So 2 groves, a camp, a creek, a forest that they're calling a garden, and an actual garden. A walk through virtual gardens. That's only technically true if you consider that first thing a garden, and I don't, sir. Also, fantastic job with the visual. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter and book me on Cameo at Falcon Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.